Hello everybody, I'm the Critic Monkey, and I've just seen Kim Possible the movie, and it was
Name Dum Dum.
and it's also got me thinking, what things do I not want to get adapted or rebooted? So, in dishonor of Kim Possible, Child's Play, Deathflix, Sonic the Hedgehog, everything Disney's making, an anime out of...
Is it? Am I having a stroke?
I present to you
The Krusty Krab 2. First of all, congratulations, Mr. Krabs.
Hello, I like money.
Alright, before we get into this, I'm going to lay down some ground rules. Alright, first, it's going to be, I'm not going to add in the obvious. Like Pulp Fiction or Encounters of the Third Kind. Because then that will make this list predictable. Second rule, I'm not really going to count other things that have been adapted or remade, like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. But I will make an exception to things like TV, because this is mainly going to be focusing on, film reboots. Or live action, whichever. So, without any further ado, let's get into this.
The Krusty Krab 2.
Alright, the first fight of today is, you all know him, you all love him, Megaman!
Super fighting robot, Megaman!
So, Megaman has been coming back into the spotlight in recent years with his new video game, him being a playable character in Smash Bros, and an animated series which was utter garbage, but it still means something to get an animated series. And I've been even hearing rumours that he might get a film. And I say, no, please don't. That'll be an awful idea. Sure, I do believe that video game movies can work, but don't do one on Megaman. Considering the recent trend of making video games in live action, I don't think Megaman could really work in that, area. But even if it was animated, the story will be very, it's not a very linear story. It's split up in different parts, and it will kind of be a struggle or a complete mess to just stitch it all together. So I think an animated series would be a bit better. But just don't try and make a movie, please.
The Krusty Krab 2.
Alright, next up on the list, it's the animated film what made everybody go. Iron Giant, how I miss thee. I just don't really want to see you back in a reboot. Yeah, I kind of came to the conclusion that they may make a reboot of this in my head, considering Warner Brothers, who owns the right, has shown that they know there's a lot of nostalgia for this film. So, I say nay to this. Mainly because, well, if you go down any route, like, remaking it in live action, this is just hypothetical, by the way, you will lose a lot of the charm and personality what the original film had. If you're remaking it in animation, what's the point? We already have an animated version and it's basically perfect. And if you try to modernize it, please don't. The, setting and time period really blends well with this film's personality. And I don't think modernizing it would give it any benefits. So, I just don't see any reason to reboot this if they ever decide to do that. Which they might.
The Krusty Krab 2.
Ferret Bueller's Day Off. A lot of people's favourite films, but to me, it's just kind of good. Please don't hurt me, internet! Alright, I'll kind of admit here, I'm kind of disappointed with Ferret Bueller's Day Out, the first one, considering that the internet completely overhyped this film. But I still believe that if the company, whoever owns the rights, decides to make a reboot of this for whatever reason, I kind of think that will be a very dumb move, considering that what else would you really do with this? You can't just repeat the exact same thing, because then what's the point in making a reboot? If you're modernizing it, that will again lose many of the charm. Yeah, even if you change the genre, like what you're gonna do with the Naked Gun and make it less of a comedy, that's dumb because again it loses personality. I don't see any good way of rebooting this at all. There's nothing you can add to this film, so please don't.
The Krusty Krab 2.
You know, the more that I'm thinking about it, I'm beginning to think that Disney may have plans to reboot this, as they will tend to do.
Oh no.
Disney, I swear to God, if you remake this, I'm gonna stab you 7 times in the chest. Lilo and Stitch was my freaking childhood, and I love this film to death. Sure, it's not the perfect Disney movie, but I absolutely love it and adore it. So I don't think a live-action remake would work, and considering it's Disney, they're probably gonna make a live-action remake. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Many of the remakes lose some of the charm of what the original had. And, yeah, I mean, Stitch is cute in animation and all, but I don't think he's gonna work in live action if you've shown anything with the genie on Aladdin. And plus, the art style of Lilo and Stitch is very noticeable and very unique from all the other Disney films, and if you make it live action, you're going to lose a bit of that art style and a bit of that personality. And also don't modernize it. The last one's classic with not a distinct time period, so just don't at all.
The Krusty Krab 2.
Right, next is the game what stars this guy. That's right, this guy is my man. Well, no, not Legend of Zelda as a whole, but just Majora's Mask. As a matter of fact, I think Legend of Zelda would work very well in a film. But trying to adaptate Majora's Mask will most likely fail, considering that I don't think anybody would have the balls to adaptate Majora's Mask completely. It's a very dark game with very dark imagery and a glaring fact that not everybody can be saved and a couple of people are going to die. And animated film companies, don't get me wrong, create some great stuff, but they don't have the balls of which they once had, considering that the rating system has been very broken for a while. And this film wouldn't be, 12 or anything, but it's definitely, PG, but considering the rating system, they're gonna really struggle with this film. I mean, come on, look at this. You think this would be in a kids' film nowadays?
The Krusty Krab 2.
Next up on the list is possibly one of the most popular animes at the moment, and is also the only anime I've ever seen. Goblin Slayer. Yeah, you really thought I was going to say Death Note? No, that's already got an adaptation. Goblin Slayer. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Didn't Goblin Slayer just come out? Well, My Hero Academia just came out like 2 years ago, and that's getting a film adaptation. So, just give this 2 years, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know, some crap company's gonna pick this up. And I don't think you can pull off what Goblin Slayer really pulled off. It's a very, very dark anime, and I think it was maybe pushing it a bit with its, well, in my opinion, 15 rating. It's a very gory anime, and a couple of scenes, which I will not get into, will be very hard to translate into the film. And this film, if they ever make a film of this, it would probably get a lot of backlash if they adaptate it perfectly. And if you, shorten it down and make it to 12, a lot of fans are going to be unhappy with this, considering a lot of the story elements came from the gore and violence. So, I would recommend leaving this alone, unless a company can pick it up what really respects the property.
The Krusty Krab 2.
I'm kind of surprised this hasn't gotten a reboot already.
Everybody loves Gremlins, don't they?
I love this film. I even may consider it one of my favourite films of all times. But I don't think you can remake it. Maybe a sequel would be better, but if all the rumours what I'm hearing is true, that New Line may pick this up and make it a darker reboot, I say no. A lot of the Gremlins, charm came from its dark sense of humour, and I don't really think you could just, make this dark and expect nothing to happen. Like, maybe newcomers will be fine with this, but it wouldn't really be Gremlins then. Gremlins is a very dark comedy, and, that's some of its charm. Like, I don't think you would just, make it darker or change the setting and you think nothing would go wrong by doing that. I don't think you could just get away with that. So I recommend leaving this alone for the time being, maybe.
The Krusty Krab 2.
This is the second time in a row that I've mentioned Doom in one of these videos. Could you really blame me? I absolutely love this game.
Alright, Doom film has supposedly been in development hell since 2016. I kind of consider leaving it there. Considering that Doom doesn't really have that much of a story, I kind of think it's a bit hard to just make an entire film about it. I mean, sure, I like shooting and explosions as much as the next guy, but you can't really make an entire film about it, otherwise you'll be, well, Michael Bay. And plus, let's be real here, I don't think any film company will still have the balls to just make a straight up 15 Doom movie. I mean, sure, even with successes like Deadpool, people are still too wuss to make a 15 movie nowadays. And, well, I guess we would just have to wait until, like, maybe Blumhouse makes an action, comedy, horror around the Doom games. I mean, it could work, maybe. I don't know.
The Krusty Krab 2.
Surprisingly, this is the only comic on this list. I surprise myself sometimes.
Batman Hush. Possibly one of the best Batman comics, right next to The Killing Joke. But they already ruined that. So, I beg of you, please don't ruin Batman Hush. This was a comic made for the fans of the comics, and making a film adaptation would kind of ruin it all. Like, sure, the common movie goer knows, like, the Joker and Two-Face and all that, but when you make a little plot twist of Jason Todd, they'll just go, wait, who's that? Jason Todd? Second Robin? I thought there was, like, only one Robin. What? This doesn't make sense. And if you make it for, like, the fans, then they've already read this. What's the point in making it again? And a lot of the elements what made Batman Hush so good, like Batman being pushed out of his comfort zone, will kind of be lost in the DCEU, considering Batman kills plenty. So him choking out the Joker won't have any effect on the common moviegoer. So I don't think Batman Hush would really work that well in a film adaptation. Sorry.
The Krusty Krab 2.
Alright, with all the other entries in this list, you could maybe make a reboot or an adaptation on this. Maybe if you get the right people, maybe if you get a company that really respects it. But I do not think you can at all reboot this one.
Donnie Darko is possibly one of my favourite films of all times. Sure, you may think it's potential garbage, but you gotta admit the cinematography, the characters, and the messages what it pushes are phenomenal. So, you would think somebody in the right mind wouldn't make a reboot of this. Well, I tell you, they already made a sequel, which mere existence pisses me off to no end. So I don't know what they will do with this. I say nay to this. Nay, nay, nay. Nobody would recapture Donnie Darko. I mean, sure, I may be a bit biased here, but I don't think anybody would really get it. And considering that many people have different views of what this film really means, it's going to either piss off one other side and piss off the other side. There is really no other good reason why I think a reboot would be made of this. It began where it needed to begin, and it ended where it needed to be ended. So, I think it's best to just leave Donnie Darko alone. It's made to be one film, and one film it should stay.
Alright, that was my list. If you enjoyed it, I recommend you leave a like. If you like some of the other content on this channel, I recommend you subscribe. If you have a list in mind of things what you would, not want to reboot or adaptate or anything like that, please leave it in the comments below. And you know what, for the hell of it, I'm just gonna copy off YMS. Well, actually, in all seriousness, I liked how IMS did childhood trauma videos and challenged everybody else to do it, so I'm just gonna do that. Nightbreed, if you're watching this, I
issue a challenge to you
to make a top 10 list of remakes or adaptations you don't want to see happen. And so with that, I'll see you later, my zombie slayers.